Welcome back to Fabulosity for you, where the fashion is fierce, the celebrity gossip tea is hot, and the relationship advice is real. Welcome. If you're here for the first time, my name is Angie, and today we're going to be doing the review of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Reunion 1, 2, and 3. I also want to say Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of my ladies. Happy Mother's Day. I hope all of you all are enjoying this weekend. Okay, so let's get right into it. We have a lot to talk about. Now, I didn't write a script or anything like that. I'm just speaking off memory, and I'm not going in any particular order. I'm going to talk about what was the highlight for me. Okay, so let's get into this. Honey, those girls were acting a doggone fool at the reunion. Okay, we're going to first start off with the fashion because, you know, I'm into fashion and all of the things. So, the first person that came out, and I'm not going in any particular order, but I'm just saying the first person that came out. And I believe it was Sutton. And Sutton, I liked the necklace she had on. I really did like the necklace. But the dress, I thought that the colors that they chose, some of the people that chose the lighter colors, it just blended in their skin. It blended with their blonde hair. And it just didn't bring them out. So Sutton had on, I don't know whether it was cream or what colors dress she had, but it was unforgettable. It was really nothing to talk about. But she looked nice. She looked nice. And then I believe I'm going to say Erica came out. And she had on black lace, and it really looked like the same outfit she had on at Rachel's birthday party. But I'm quite sure it's a different dress, but it's the same look. So it wasn't anything eventful. She looked good. She looked nice. I like lace, but it wasn't a wow factor. But she looked nice. Kyle came through, and Kyle looked classic. She looked very classical, not classical, but classy. But it was a classic look. Black and white is a classic look. I did not like the bun on her head, honey. She should have wore her hair down, or she should have had a little bang or something, but that bun she had, she could have kept. I like the back of the dress. The back of the dress had her back out, but the dress itself, again, it wasn't a wow factor or she looks so cute. It wasn't anything like that. Now, let's see. I believe Bowles came out. And a Bowles dress, it was a pretty dress. I love the colors, the brown and the gold. It wasn't quite brown, but it was a bronze and a gold against her skin. Was beautiful. Her face was beat to the gods, okay? Her earrings were really nice. I loved how her hair was. It was pulled up. It looked very nice because Bowles was always having too much hair for me. And so she had it pulled back. It looked elegant. She looked elegant. But that dress, honey, was too heavy. Even Andy was like, that dress looks heavy. And she was like, yeah, it's heavy. And it looked heavy. And why she wanted a heavy dress on, I don't know. I really don't. But I did not like the sleeves of the dress. The sleeves just was too much for that dress. It looked heavy. It was big. If she had just taken the sleeves off, that would have been a cold dress, okay? That would have been a wow factor. But the points are taken away because the sleeves did not look right with that dress and the dress looked too heavy. Okay, so then Rachel comes out, and I loved Rachel's dress. The gold and the silver and the black is classic. It's beautiful. It was sequins, and she looked fabulous in it. And so I thought that was a gorgeous dress, and she looked gorgeous in it. And it was so funny because Andy was like, so how did you decide to wear your outfit for the reunion? And she was like, I just went in my closet and just picked something. And I'm like, so effortlessly. I love that effortlessly glamour that she has. Okay, so then Dorit came out. And everybody's face was looking like Dorit. That was giving some looks, honey. That was giving some looks at the reunion. And so, again, so Dorit can be a hit or miss at a reunion. When she had on, at one reunion, she had on this red cloth on her head, like she was the Virgin Mary. And she had this long red dress on. And I'm like, girl, out of everything in your closet, you decided to wear that? It was a mess. So, I didn't know what to expect from Dorit. But I didn't think Dorit's dress was a wow factor. I thought she looked nice. It was okay. But nothing to write home about. I did like her hair. The bob looked cute, the long bob. I don't know why, for some reason, her eyes were like bulging the whole time at the reunion. I don't know what's going on. She might need to check her thyroids. But her eyes were like bulging. And so her dress was okay. She looked cute. Now, I liked the color of Kathy's dress. I think the silver looked really nice against her skin with her hair. Her face was beat. Her hair looked nice. But to me, that silver dress she had on looked very matronly. It looked very matronly. So I really didn't like it. Now, the wow factor that I was looking for was from Jennifer Tilly. The dress was a wow factor. It was a piece of art. She had her face on her dress, and it was a piece of art. She looked good in it. I did not like her hair. I think she was doing too much. I don't know if she was trying to do old Hollywood glam, putting a braid around her hair. I think if she would have had a very nice bob, maybe to her shoulder or to her neck, would have been really, really nice. It would have like brought her out. Even if she would have decided to wear her hair pent up. But it was just too much hair, too much braids. I didn't like her hair. Now, would I say that's the dress I want to go and buy with my picture on the side? Absolutely not. I think the colors were great. I liked the black and the gold. But it was a wow factor because it was different. But I'm going to say the icon of Rachel, Zoe, was the winner. Yay, Rachel! She effortlessly looked beautiful. So let's get right into it. So they all sat down, and Andy gave Kyle her flowers and said she's been around for 15 years straight. She's the only housewife that's been around 15 years straight. So congratulations to you, Kyle. And she's around for a reason. Kyle knows how to stir the pot. Stir the pot. Okay, so the conversation went to Rachel, and she was seen out with some hot dude, and they were like, who is this guy? And she was like, he's a friend. He's a handsome friend, but he's a friend. And she did too much smiling and all of that. So they're friends with benefits. Understand that. One thing I'm going to say about Rachel get around, okay? When I saw them out in the Hamptons and everybody knew who she was and everybody was inviting her, she was going to parties, VIP, blah, 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 had all the men around her. And she was telling the ladies, this is going to be a hot girl summer or hot girl winter, whatever it was. And so I know she gets out and she's meeting men because she's a nice looking woman and she's Rachel Zoe, okay? And so even though she's not quite done with her divorce, I know that woman getting out, honey. And so then they talked about her going through her divorce. Bowles was holding her hand and all of the things. And then the conversation goes over to Erica and about how Erica had told everybody, well, I forgot who she was talking to, but she let everybody know that she's been hit by a man. Okay? And when she did that and she got it out, she said she felt better, and it made her start thinking about when she was with Tom and all this she endured. And so Andy was like, did Tom abuse you in any way? And she said, actually he did. He emotionally abused me and he financially abused me. And so when she said that, I said, it's a lot of women that are with wealthy men and they have these designer bags and they don't have $5 in their bag to go buy a pack of bubble gum and a Diet Coke. And so I think she meant that when he's upset with her, he probably will cut her cards off, turn her cards off, and don't give her money. And she said that emotionally he was abusive, where he went around the house and then talked to her for 6 weeks. That's a long time. And he never supported her. He never came to, when she was at Broadway play that was very important in her career, he didn't show up. He never read her book. And Andy was like, yeah, I remember when you wrote the book. And I was like, Tom didn't read your book? And he was like, no, he didn't read my book. I didn't think anything about it. And so Tom got her when she was a young woman. I believe she was in her 20s. So she's been with that man for a long time. She's been rich for a long time with that man. And no telling, he probably beat her butt. She's not going to say that. He put his paws on her. That man put his paws on her because she was young. And men would try to break you to conform to their lives and what they want and to be about them. And they'll turn your cards off. They won't give you any money and all of that. And trust and believe, it's rich women that are married to wealthy men and they got Birkin bags and all those designer bags and cannot have $5 in their pocketbook. So a bell went off in my mind because when she talked about she had only known this man for a little time and it took her 3 more times to get hit to call the cops, to say to him, I'm going to call the cops to stop seeing him. And I said, what? Erica went out with that man 3 times and got hit 3 times? And on the 3rd time, I think she got hit twice. And on the 3rd time, he tried to hit her. And that's when she called the cops. And it all makes sense now because when you've been a battered, abused woman, whether it was emotionally, physically, or financially, it becomes normal to you after you've been treated like that for so long. And so when she got out here in this dating world, this is what probably she was used to. And that's why she continued to see this man. So I'm glad that she went and got some counseling and she's doing better because her counselor had said, well, when you was telling me the story when you got hit, you was telling it like it was somebody else. And so now I see the emotions that you have. And I'm seeing that you're getting better with that. So good for you, Erica. And so then the conversation went to Dorit and Kyle. And so Andy was asking them, okay, so, and I'm not going in order, okay? I'm just talking about the highlights for me. And then Andy was like, okay, so you guys been having problems all season. What is the problem? And so Dorit started talking about how Kyle has been bad-mouthing her behind her back and has not been a good friend. And so Kyle was like, well, everybody was talking about you, Dorit. How can Bose and everybody else talk about you, Erica, but when I talk about you and say the same things they're saying, I'm not a good friend. And you're trying to make me look bad. And she was like, no, you're trying to make me look bad. So she was like, just like you telling everybody that I'm acting erratic when you know I'm going through a tumultuous divorce. And you said you were so afraid that he could do something to me, but you stood up and say this information, giving him ammunition. And so she said, and then when we was out and they went out to the Hamptons, they closed the store down for us. And nobody bought anything. And there was no way this person closed the store down for us and I'm not going to buy nothing. I spent $4,000 and you act like that was a lot of money. Now, I'm blessed to be able to spend $4,000. I know that. But you have a lot of nerve because you spend way more money. And she was like, well, to be honest with you, my pockets are different than yours. I was like, girl, you popped up right back in place. And she was looking all crazy. She was like, how do you know my pockets? And then Erica was like, well, Erica was like, Dorit, your house is in foreclosure. So why do you think we're saying this? And so she ignored her and she said, is it because PK told Mo and Mo told you? And she was like, no, Dorit, it's all in the news, all over social media. Your house is in foreclosure. And so she really couldn't say much on that. And so Andy wanted to know all about the foreclosure. And she said, well, it's in pre-foreclosure. And I was blindsided. I did not know that was happening because PK said he was paying the mortgage. And so everybody was like, well, you guys are separated. Did you look to see if he was paying? No, I didn't. I did not. I should have, but this is what he said. And so it's in pre-foreclosure. He's telling me he's going to pay the money so we can sell the house. And so they was like, do you really believe that, Dorit? Well, this is what he's saying. I know he doesn't want his children on the streets. So then they were like, right, but in case he don't do that, you need to have your own plans. Have you thought about downsizing, something that you can afford? And she said, well, I have to figure all of that out, but this is what he's saying. Now, Dorit, again, she's a cat woman. She's a cat woman. And she used to that man paying the bills, but at the end of the day, PK is divorcing, and that's not going to longer be her husband, honey. So you're going to have to figure it out. Now, she being stupid on that. And I saw recently up at Adams on YouTube channel. Shouts out to you, Ups and Adams. said that PK came out and said that in the last year, she spent $1 million on bags and clothes and shoes. And I'm like, $1 million on bags, clothes, and shoes? And bitch, you couldn't pay money on your house where you stay and your children stay? Her priorities are way out of whack. And so to be buying bags and clothes, I really don't blame them for just feeling scared for her, because you can't depend on these men. You can't depend on them, especially when it's over. And she's not going to get much of spousal support or whatever she thinks she's going to get, because PK be broke himself. He be robbing Peter to pay Paul. So she really needs to get a hold of her finances, and she needs to downsize and find some place for her and her children where she can live. And honey, she needs to get on the real and sell some of them bags and clothes, honey. Because if she spent $1 million in a year on her clothes and shoes and stuff like that, it's crazy. I mean, if you got it, you got it, but you ain't got it. You ain't got it like that. So, so she was like, well, bottom line is, my finances, what I buy, is my business. And it is. And it is. I know she ain't asking none of them for no money. And that's how I feel. If I'm not asking you for no money, then don't talk about what the hell I buy. There it is. So, they talked about that. And then they went over to Amanda and... No, they went over to Erica and Dorit. And they asked how they doing, and Erica's like, no, we have not talked. And I'm good with that. I didn't like, and they was like, well, what's the problem? What happened? And she was like, I just didn't like how Dorit said to me about Bo's being the best friend and Bo's this and Bo's that. Like, we have not been friends with Dorit. And so, of course, Kyle jumps in, and Kyle is like, right, remember when that people were saying your accent was phony? Remember when your house got broken into? Who was there, Dorit? And so Dorit was saying, you talking about some stuff that happened a long time ago. Tell me how you helped me in the last 2 years. And then Dorit was, then Kyle was like, well, we wasn't talking. And she said, exactly. So how am I your friend if we haven't been talking? You have not, in the last 2 years, been a friend to me. And I'm sick and tired of you keep talking about everybody else. This is between you and I. Honey, Dorit was screaming. Dorit was pointing her fingers. Kyle was giving looks. Erica was making looks. Everybody was tripping, okay? So then they went over to Amanda. And Amanda and Bose. And Bose was like, I just didn't appreciate her every minute trying to compare her business to my business when there's no comparison. First of all, she said, well, no, I wasn't doing that. You said that your business, online business, was not doing well, was not making money. And so I think that's why you keep coming at me about my job, about what I do. So they showed the clip when Amanda said, I think she's jealous of me because my online business is doing well and hers isn't. Bose went crazy. Bose was like, I never said that. Why would I say that to you? We're not friends. We're not friends like that. So why would I say that? I never said that. And she was like, it's on camera. I like how she said that. It's on camera. And she kept saying it, so they rolled the clip. Now, she didn't say exactly that, but Bose explained what she meant. She said, let me tell you something. We can't compare each other because we do two different things. I have online courses that I don't charge people for. I worked at University of Harvard University for 3 semesters, okay? Teaching people how to learn how to ask money at their jobs and along with a whole lot of other things so they can be okay in the job field. And my job, my online courses, I don't charge. It's nonprofit. Whereas you charge a lot of money so you can be rich as hell, rich as fuck. I was like, ha ha, oh my God. Bose is real smart. And every time Amanda opened her mouth, Bose check her just like that. She cut her down. I was like, oh my God. And all she did was, yeah, that's about right. I try to show woman how to make money and show woman how to be dependent. She be getting them women. Them women be mad as hell at Amanda. And Amanda don't have to raise her voice, but Amanda can be annoying. But Amanda, whatever she doing it. She making money, baby. She rich as fuck. How about that? So Andy was like, well, did you finish your book about when you were in a cult? And she was like, no, but I'm still working on it. It'll be ready soon. So Andy started reading comments about what people were saying about Amanda. And they were saying that she treated her husband like a pile of shit, that she emasculates her man, and they didn't like that. And she said, well, what do you think? I don't think I do that. Well, what does he think? He doesn't think I do that. Well, what? And so Rachel was like, I don't care about what. I would never say out of my mouth what my husband paid to somebody, especially not on television. And they was like, well, yeah, you was telling everybody your husband didn't pay for the house. Well, he did. She was like, well, he did. And he is okay with that. And that's okay. Was he mad about it that you said it on TV? Well, he said, well, you didn't really have to say that, but it's the truth. I'm not worried about that. Me and my husband are good. I have a beautiful life. I manifested it all. I did pay for my home. Now, we did split the bill on revamping the home, but I paid for it. I have beautiful children. I have a beautiful home, and I have a beautiful man, and I have a beautiful life. I'm like, girl. And so people was getting mad, honey. Who was really getting mad was Erica. Erica's like, well, you're saying that now, but the seeds that you're planting, let me tell you something, girly. When she didn't really say girly, but she was like, when things go wrong and you planted those type of seeds with your man, it's going to come to bite you. I've been around. We all been around, and we know. It's not going to stay like that. And she was like, well, I think so. I have a beautiful life. Honey, she was killing them women, honey. They all going through divorce, and she talk about she had a beautiful life. Okay, so then they talk about Bose, her man, about her getting engaged and their relationship and all of the things. And they showed the clip where Bose's man is like, yeah, some things I need to talk about with you before I actually move forward with getting engaged. And she was like, well, go ahead. What is it? Well, what if I lost my job? Would you still want to be with me? And I told you guys when it happened, I think I did. That's a definitely red sign of a man. Okay, who says that? Who says that? Okay, and so she was like, well, of course I'll still be with you. And then he was like, okay. So is he about to lose his job? Now, let me tell you something about some smart women, okay? Book smart women. They might be book smart, and they might be smart. But when it comes down to a man, they stupid. Because I would have asked him, why would you say that? How's your job going? Are you about to lose your job? Aren't you able to get another job? That was a red flag right there, Bose. Everybody said it. They was like, oh, wow. And she was like, no, I'm good with that. I mean, he just asked the question and I answered it. And so they talked about that. And then they went back to Dorit and Erica. And so Dorit was like, I just didn't understand, Erica, why you came at me. I mean, you came at me. Did somebody tell you? I believe somebody said, go after Dorit. And she was like, nobody said that. Well, then why would you act like that? It can't be. And Kyle said, you called her, see you next Tuesday constantly. And she said she don't care about that. So why did you come at me like that? And she said, I talked to Andy about this. I mean, she was looking angry. I talked to Andy about this. And I didn't want to say it on camera. But Andy was like, you need to say it on camera. Andy, didn't I come to you? Andy was like, she came to me. And I told her, you need to tell her this on camera. So she said, well, what is it? What did I do? Because 1 minute, you're good with me, with friends, and the next minute you turned on me. And she said, no, it wasn't about the see you next Tuesday. It wasn't about that. It was about the fact that what hurt me, and Andy was like, because I've never seen you cry like that. What hurt me is that all we have been through together, all three of us, you have the nerve to say Bose has been for you and I haven't. When we shared each other's secrets. And she was like, well, yeah, I can get that, because remember you did that to Kyle and I, the whole group, a couple of seasons ago. So I get that. I'm glad you're bringing this to me, because I didn't know why. I just assumed you just jumped on Kyle's side. And she said, I can understand that. So then Andy was like, okay, well, do you want to give her an apology? And she said, apologize for what, Andy? And he was like, apologize because she flipped over what you said. And she said, I already apologized. He said, you apologize? And she was like, you apologize to me? And she said, I apologize. I said, I understand what you felt. I apologize. Dorit was lying, honey. Dorit did not apologize. Dorit didn't want to apologize, but Dorit was on the spot. So Dorit went back and she said she apologized when she didn't. And I apologized. And so she said, okay. But she said, but I still don't understand your anger that you didn't even come to my book signing. It's got to be more than that. And so she said, well, Andy told me to tell you this. Okay. When you said I had to fight for my job on camera was a total blow to me. A total blow for you to say that. And Andy was like, well, why? When I work, first of all, it's not true. It's not true. And I work hard to be honest and come out and say my story. And then you're going to turn around and say, I'm not pulling my weight. And that's not true. And so for right there, you doggone right. I'm sitting up fighting for my job and doing what I have to do. And she was like, exactly. They told you to come for me. They told you to come for me. You trying to keep your job. Now, she didn't say all of that, but we already know. Yes, she's trying to keep her job. So, because she hasn't added anything to the season in 2 seasons. So, she's trying to keep her job. So, she's coming at Dorit, which is jacked up. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. But she could have told her behind the scenes, listen, I'm coming for you, but you still my girl. And Dorit was like, wow. Okay. I see. And so Dorit is feeling like, again, she was the plot for Kyle. She wanted everybody to turn against her because Kyle was still mad about the part that she pulled out a text and showed her text on TV. And Erica is her minion, is Kyle's minion, because Erica trying to keep her job, honey, because she ain't bringing nothing to the table. And she got mad when Dorit said, I asked you to step it up, but I didn't ask you to be a cunt. And that's what she felt like Dorit set up and made her look bad on TV. But let me tell you something about Dorit. Dorit was all of them up. Dorit was going to town, honey. She stood up for herself. She was fighting. Everybody was against her. Now, Dorit's hands are not clean. They're not. They started talking about her being late. And that's what Eddie was like, but Dorit is always like it, isn't she? And they were like, yeah, but she's even more late. But she was like, but does that warrant for you guys not to support me? Not to support me at my book signing? And so Kyle was like, first of all, you didn't write it. Your book is not out. You showed a picture. And at the end of the day, my daughter was getting married in a week or so, and I just did not have the time. But I took time. I took time to text you. And she said, yeah, but no, I think it's Bose. Bose is the one that's telling you what to do. Bose is the one you're listening to. And Bose was like, hold up, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Now, I always was on your side. And she was like, no, you wasn't. Roll a clip. And they show Bose every minute saying, I believe that Kyle is on your side and have good intentions. She said it 100 times, and Kyle was like, I didn't see that. She said, but you made me look crazy when you didn't show up for her book signing. Because at the end of the day, you so worried about her spending her money, but yet you couldn't come to support her when she trying to make money. So she said, well, I told you I couldn't. My daughter, I had too much going on. She said, well, I talked to some, but I didn't talk to you. I don't know what you have to do. That's why I said that, but I've always supported you. And so she said, Dorit said to Erica, I just can't get over the fact that even after what you said that I did, that worried you not coming to my book signing. Well, I have, and not even did you not come, you didn't even text me. You couldn't even text. And that showed a lot about our supposedly friendship. And she said, no, I didn't. No, I didn't text you. No, I didn't. And so it just showed that Erica, none of them really were real friends with Dorit. And Dorit said, I am sick and tired of fighting everybody, of defending myself. When I'm sitting up here going through what I'm going through. I know everybody got stuff going on, but at the end of the day, the petty shit y'all talking about, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. So then, Kathy gonna stand up for her sister, and it's the first time she's standing up because she don't ever stand up, and Kyle always cried at the end and said you could have stood up, and she said I don't like how you doing my baby sister over there. She really didn't mean anything, and I don't like how you're treating her. You're not treating anybody else like that. And they just looked at her, Dorit looked at her like she was crazy. And she said, because the difference between Bose and everybody is that Kyle did not come to me when they did. She went around to everybody, and it showed her going around to everybody. And I mean, she was going around to everybody. And they said, even Andy said, well, can't you see that you did go behind her back to everybody? And no, I just put it to the table. No, baby, you was going around to everybody. Period. And that's all you saw. And then when Dorit saw the clip where Erica talking about her, saying she's this and she's that, and maybe PK is right about Dorit. First of all, Erica's face was looking like, oh wow, I did say that. And Dorit was like, okay, wow, so this is how you feel. All right. And so I'm going to wrap this up because I don't want this to be too long. But at the end of the day, Erica said to Dorit, listen, we can take a break, honey, because you're not who you are. When you become back to the Dorit, I know, because you're not there, then we can talk about it. And she was like, oh, the Dorit that's not there. I wish I was the old Dorit, but I'm not. And that just reminds me of a saying that when you're down, you see who your real friends are. And then they showed a clip of Erica saying, yeah, just lose money. Just ask your friend to help you bury a body and see where your friends are. And so Erica said, so Dorit really basically bumped that back to her and said, yeah, maybe when I get back on the good foot and my finances are all great and I'm not going through anything, then you can tolerate Dorit. I don't need no friends like that, sweetie. I do not need friends like that. I'm good. Do you know what you said? She was like, I know what I said. Yeah, all right. Okay, so I see who you are. And Kyle, I know who you are. When you ready to put all this pettiness behind and quit trying to make me look bad and get over what happened in the past, then maybe we can resolve issues. And so basically that's how it ended. It really was no resolve. They did talk about briefly Amanda having her miscarriage and Dorit explained that, hey, I didn't mean anything by it. I didn't know that this had happened to you. And Bose felt like, hey, you just said that to get some points right there. So Dorit kind of made up with Amanda. And I think Sutton and Dorit kind of figured things out with each other. But I really don't think they will really be that great of a friend. Dorit did call Sutton a social climber, but I don't think she's a social climber, but I think she likes to hang around the it people. I do believe that. I don't think she wants to hang around somebody that's having money problems, okay? And so I think that's what Dorit meant. She didn't say it right, but I think that's what she meant. Overall, I enjoyed this season because I told you guys in each video, it don't matter if you living way up on the hill, baby, in a mansion. It's some going on in that house, okay? Behind every closed doors, honey, is a glass house, baby, and can be broken. And these girls, what I loved about this season, I enjoyed it because these girls are real. You know, you're not gonna. Sometimes you're gonna get a divorce. Sometimes it ain't gonna work out. Sometimes you're gonna lose your money. Sometimes you can be up and you can be back down, honey. That's how God do. But at the end of the day, they just like everybody else. They're living rich lives, and they can be just like regular people, honey. They lose their men, they lose their money. Friends are phony. They just like us. And that's what I like this season. It's not just about the glitz, the glam, the clothes. It's about what people are going through. And they were going through it. All of them. Except for Amanda. But anyway, tell me what you think in the comments. I'm Team Dorit. So Dorit's hands are clean, but I believe Dorit called it for what Kyle was. She was on the get back. Erica was on the trying to save her job tip. And Sutton, she goes with the it girls. With the money. And that's just my opinion. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed the season. And thank you for watching my channel. Tell me what you think in the comment about the girls. Are you Team Dorit or are you Team Kyle?